So guys, it's David here. I self-sabotaged today. I broke tired. I got 2 weeks into my mini cut and I just full on just went off the rails and binge ate. Now, it is not a problem, although it really is, and before I would view this as something very devastating. But, well, what can you do, right? You binge ate and looking at what you have done, looking at your failures, to only for the purpose of scrolling, then that is defeating the purpose. What you can do is to acknowledge the fact that why you have done it, what went wrong, what tempted you into binge eating, and really what made you trip up. In my case, the reason why I tripped up is because I was so bored. I was literally so bored, and bored in the context of me knowing exactly what I should be doing, but I choose not to do it. And when I have too much free times on my hand, I tend to make dumb decisions. So I guess this is where my problem lies. Now, for you, it may be different. For you, you may be starving. Or for you, it may be just a trigger simply as your lack of discipline because you are still new to building the habit of eating clean and forming a diet. Now, I have to say that in the moments you do trip up, you have to understand that you have to just move on. You simply just have to move on. Tomorrow, you may wake up. You may wake up feeling pretty down on yourself. You may wake up tomorrow and still be defeated. You may say to yourself, well, look, I tripped on my diet. So what will stop me from just going off the rails again today? And you have to understand that you can't. Because if you do again, then you simply are not learning your lesson. Now, before you guys say that I am hypocritical for saying this, because I myself have tripped up multiple times, I do not hold anything today to defend myself. Because the truth is, yes, I did slip up. But I know for certain in a way that I am not going to do it again tomorrow. Because I understand that if I want to look a certain way, then I have to be in check. I have to be diet locked in. I have to be exercise locked in. I can't just continue on going off the rails in a consecutive day and expect my body to change. Right at the moment, I am obviously bloated, as you guys can see. Now, I'm not too stressed for the most because this is all body weight, sodium, and tomorrow I'll drop instantly a few pounds, and over the course of next week I'll be back at where I have started. It's just simple math at this point, right? How much calories you put in and how much calories goes out. So if I eat, let's say 8,000 calories today, and if my mini cut was 2,500, then that means I'll need to lose an excess of, for argument's sake, 6,000 calories, right? So that would be 1,000 a week, which will be over the next week. Maybe some weird math there, but theoretically, the logic is pretty much that. If you eat too much in one day, then you just simply have to drop down for the remaining of the week. So that's why I'm not stressed. But also, yes, I hindered my progress. Because if I did not went off the rails today and stayed in with my diet plan for the whole course of 4 weeks, then my goal would to be dropped down to 81.3 kilograms. Now, on week 2, I was at 83.8, which is in line with my goal. Now, bear in mind, I was not at 83.3 specifically as how I intended, because the day before I started my challenge, I went off the rails. So it was like kind of me saying, you know what, I'm going to go on a diet. So just one more time before I kind of, just lock in. But that was also me being a little bit immature in my way of thinking, as I was just lazy back then. I was lazy in a way that I was not locked in with my routine. I was not keeping myself busy with the right things. Likewise, for today, I did not lock myself in with the right things. I didn't keep myself busy. My mind was distracted on the wrong things. And this was my trigger. And this is what got me to relapse on these behaviors or bad habits I'm trying to avoid. I won't even say relapsing because I know for certain that I don't enjoy them. but rather I do them just to fill this empty space of time. Because for me, guys, to sit with time is kind of uncomfortable because I know I should be doing something, but when you are not doing that thing and you are just sitting there constantly thinking about it, it gets a bit weird. Like, I don't know exactly how to explain it, but it just feels like you're anxious. You're always vigilant. So my method, which my self-sabotage to really avoid myself or ignore myself from thinking that, is to binge eat or do some other horrendous things, like in the past would be taking drugs. So obviously, if my advice was to myself on how I could just prevent this from happening in the future, is to simply just keep my head down and do the work. Right? That is literally just as simple as that. And really, this is what I have been advocating on this channel since day one, is to become better than yesterday. Because the moment you stay the same, you are going to go backwards. For me, I personally do not believe one person can remain the same throughout their life. They either advance or go backwards. You can't stay in the same forever because the world will go on. And if you choose to remain the same, well, you're going to be left behind. Keep your head down and keep yourself busy by doing the right thing. When you make a mistake, don't destroy yourself over it, but understand exactly what have got you to tip up, what tripped you in that moment and clouded your judgment. And lastly, guys, always aim to improve better. Always figure out what you can do today to speed up the process, because for most cases, if this is your first attempt at anything, then your first attempt likely is not the best practice. In an example will be that whatever you're doing right now, if you're new to it, it is not the most efficient nor productive. But that's okay, because you will learn from your mistakes. And the worst case is you'll learn from your failures. And tomorrow, when I wake up, I do expect myself to kind of feel a little bit sluggish. But at the end of the day, my feeling will only be determined by how I choose to feel, how I choose to think. So right now, I am ending today on a positive note. Even though my stomach is literally calling for help and crying as it is about to explode, but that's fine. This is life, and eventually we will grow out of it. But with that being said, I hope you guys have learned something from this. But if not, like always, I'll be here for you guys tomorrow. But until then, good night.